Okay, I just finished making this tutorial and I realized that I think I should probably do everyone a favor and start this tutorial with the final result. What is it that you're going to be working towards? Because this is absolutely mind-blowing. Check this out. You have a plugin, and I'll show you how to install it. You click on the drop-down, and you say, let's do Stone Road. Sure, Stone Road. 512 by 512 pixels, texture seamless. Click Generate. All right, it's going through the multiple revision steps. You see it's like 10 out of 25, 11 out of 25. With every step, the texture is getting clearer and clearer. And holy crap. Look at that. Give it a sec. Oh, look at this. I've just generated a texture that I can use in my game out of thin air. This is nuts. This is absolutely bonkers. Let's try it again. Stone Road, let's try brick. What it was like, brick wall. Sure, like you can just slap that texture onto any piece of geometry. Let's see. Come on, show me the magic. Oh, okay. Holy crap. Oh, wow. Look how random they are. They got some shading, some shadows. God, this is awesome. Okay, one more. Let's do sand dunes. All right, we're seeing orange. Ooh. Oh, man. Look at this. Dude, I don't want to do a tutorial. I just want to play with this all day. Okay, one more. This one's really cool. So, cracked ground. Cracked ground. Come on, baby. Give me something cool. Oh. It's getting there. Okay, we have pavement. We didn't get cracked ground, but I can just run the same query again. And it should give me something else. Oh, I'm seeing some cracks. I am seeing some cracks. And this is only 25 steps. You can increase how many steps to get a lot more detail out of it. Okay, we got some cracks. We didn't get as many cracks as we did last time. Let's do cracked dirt. Because one of the previous attempts is this. No, not this one. Where's the previous attempt? This is a really, really impressive one. Oh, okay, that was this one. This was AI generated. Yep, there you go. That's the one. Oh, no, that's the one that just generated. Cool, so it's cracked dirt instead of cracked ground. Where's the other one, the cracked ground that I looked up? It's one of them. Okay, anyways, let's get into the tutorial. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I just discovered this little nugget of absolute bombshell of a resource for game developers. Holy crap. So, check this out. This is AI-based generation for textures, not dependent on some sort of an online resource, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is actually running off of an AI-generated model that has been trained, and it's available to use offline. You don't need to talk to any services or external connections. This just runs from your computer. You can have no internet connection. You could be generating textures for your games right from your own computer. Check this out. Type in the term, set up the size, make it seamless. Holy crap. Do you know how awesome this is for game developers? Oh my god, like there's a bunch of artists complaining at the bottom, but dude, honestly, like us indie devs, like we don't have thousands and thousands of dollars in our pockets. Like I know what your strive is, but come on, man. This is just beautiful for self-funded low-budget indie games. Okay, so let's take a look at through the steps of how to set this up. I've already done this once, but this is a different development machine. I'm going to go through the whole process again. No editing, no nothing. Let's get to it. So we have Blender open, brand new scene, whatever. We need to search up this plugin. So we're going to type in Dream-Textures Blender. Okay, so Carson Kutri, I'm sorry, Dream Textures Stable Diffusion built in GitHub. Perfect. Okay, they have a release, and you can also see that there's a release and installation file. There's a very short, quick installation here. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves, what, 0.05 version? Cool. That's fine. I'm just going to use this link, and we're going to give it a second to download. So 694 megabytes. If you make a mistake like I did and you just download the whole repository, it's only about 2 megabytes if you just clone this. And that's the reason being is because this plugin is actually just a shell that was built around the stable diffusion algorithm made by another user. So somebody made this plugin for generating text from generating textures from text queries, and then somebody else took that particular development and wrapped it into a nice little bow of a Blender plugin. Now, I'm sure you can just go ahead and write this by yourself, but the way I discovered this was by simply using the Blender plugin, so we're going to take a look at how to do this through a Blender plugin first. Okay, I immediately got all sorts of ideas. I've been answering to make a mini game for our website because it has been, honestly, a while since we've done it. While this is downloading, I might as well kind of share this. We have a gaming channel, or gaming website technically, not on YouTube, and we do this thing where we play some games, make some jokes, and once in a while, I make a mini game. So it's one of those, usually it's a co-op game. You can play 2 players, 2 controllers, and it's like, hey, come for the game, stay for the content sort of thing. So it has been a while since I've made a mini game. It's right around the time that I should probably make something new. It's good practice, and I should probably keep it short. So this plugin is going to be absolutely perfect for that task, because I'm thinking of a top-down horror up in the North Pole with weird creatures in underground laboratories, right? That sort of stuff. Co-op, 2 players, shoot 'em up, or not a shoot 'em up, more like a survival horror. And yeah, this would just be perfect. I can generate snow textures, I can generate rocks, I can generate all sorts of assets, and oh man, I can't wait to try this out. So, perfect. We have this finished downloading. We are going to, let's see, what are we going to do? We know this is technically in download, so whatever. We're going to go to Preferences in Blender. We're going to go to Add-ons, Install, and then we have a Downloads. Where do we have this? Dreamtextures.zip. Perfect. So 693 megabytes. We're going to go ahead and install. Give it a second. It's quite a hefty plugin. Okay, perfect. So Node Dream Textures. We're going to click on it. Check it up. Again, takes a few seconds. It's a big chunker of a library. There we go. Now, when you open it up, it actually gives you all the instructions you need to go through. So, what we're going to do here is first install the dependencies. That's the first thing to do. Okay, now, sometimes you may actually encounter a particular error. Like, for example, if you have a computer that has multiple users, maybe it's not your computer, maybe it's your parents' computer, you're going to get an error like this, access denied. Now, I own this machine, and for some reason still, the error pops up. This can usually be fixed if you give Blender extra privileges to run in administrative mode. So, I'm going to Control or Alt F4 out of this. I'm going to right-click on Blender, and then right-click on Blender here. And then we're going to run as administrator. Okay, so it's going to pop up with a little warning. And now we're going to go to Preferences. I think if we type in Dream, we should see Node Dream Textures is already here. We're just going to give it a quick check mark. There we go. All right, so we're going to try that again. Install dependencies. This time it should go differently. I'm going to provide the timestamp so you can skip over the installation process, and you could just click over forward if you don't want to be listening to me rambling about every whatnot detail about this. Cool. All right, so this takes a little while. There was one problem. I've actually taught how this installation process to a couple of my students, and one of them had a problem with installation. It wouldn't install because of low hard drive space, and it didn't necessarily outright say that it was low hard drive space. It wasn't until we actually started trying to debug it and we accidentally opened up the the folder view of Windows to actually discover that the hard drive was running low. Gotta run this from administrator privileges. That's important. Otherwise, essentially what's happening right now is there's a script that has automated the entire process of setting up all the dependencies, all the libraries, the development environment, basically all the Python necessities and dependencies you need in order to run this AI-based texture generation. I should back this up in case something goes AWOL. So this process takes about maybe 10, 15 minutes. So we're gonna sit this one out, and if you guys are getting bored, just click on the timestamp. We'll forward this along. In any case, while this is getting installed, I am going to talk about Godot engine. Man. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's a fantastic engine. This is what I've been using for a lot of my game development process for a very long time. I'd say nearing 4 or 5 years. I've been using GameMaker Studio up until that point, and holy crap, it's the work process on it is so much easier and so much faster. It just blows my mind. Some things that I used to think that were standard to have to develop yourself, like lighting systems, collision systems in code, all that stuff, that I thought I had to develop all these systems myself, when Godot Engine just kind of comes with them right from the get-go, right out of the box. So if you want to get into game dev and you're thinking what engine is best for you, I've been teaching this engine to my students for the past, well, pretty much 4 years. Took me about a year to more or less get a hold of it, thanks to some very terrible business decisions on Yo-Yo Games' part that basically made it impossible to teach the engine in a reasonable span of time. I had to look for alternatives, and somebody had recommended Godot Engine during one of my live streams, and they said, hey, give this a go. I was kind of switching between Unreal Engine. Leadworks was kind of the main one I've been experimenting with for 3D dev, and Unity was on the list. But Godot Engine kind of caught my attention because of its licensing, and by that I mean the lack thereof. There's no fees to pay, there's no licensing fees, there's no shared revenue. This is an engine developed by literally hundreds and hundreds of developers. Everybody who wants who wants a particular feature in their game and has enough of a know-how simply contributes their time and code into this engine. And eventually, if the feature that they've been working on gets enough of enough traction and enough votes, it ends up making its way into the official build. So I'm still currently working with Godot Engine 3.5, but Godot Engine 4 has just stepped into beta. And I think it's about high time I've downloaded and started looking for it, looking into these features and getting to know what sort of differences I have to learn, differences from the 3.x version. The biggest thing that absolutely blows my mind is how easy it is to actually set up your in-game objects in Godot Engine. Because, again, my experience comes from GameMaker Studio for about 7-8 years. And everything has to be in code. Most of the stuff, at least. Like, you could do tiles and lay out the level, place some player objects and enemy objects all over the place. That's fine. I mean, just about every competent engine has a level editor by this point. But when it came to complex objects, you had to program to draw a sprite. you had to program its position. And if you want to be able to see if you actually aligned everything correctly, you have to compile and run the game. Now, not a big deal if you're starting out with a project, but once your project gets big, guess what? You nudge that sprite by like, what, 5 pixels? You want to see how that looks? Guess what? Gotta spend a minute and a half waiting for a game to compile before you can check that change. I have to compile every time. And this is the biggest problem with GameMaker Studio, to be honest. A lot of the things that you want to rapidly change, like change the look of a particle system, change the look of lighting, change the look of even your sprites and objects and characters. You have to compile the game. You have to wait for the game to finish compiling and then run, and only then you can see how your changes have affected your game. With Godot Engine, a lot of that stuff is run and emulated from within the engine editor. If you want to change the size of the particle, go right ahead. There's no code. You just go into the inspector and change up the size of the particle, and you can just look in the editor and see the particle emitter with the particles with the new size, and you can judge if it fits your game. And of course, you can still use code in order to control set particles, but the main point here is the fact that a lot of things that I used to have to program in code, I can just edit using the inspector, the side panel of Godot Engine. Okay, we are getting pretty close to the installation. Okay, this step's going to take a few minutes, and then we'll see a couple of big fat bars, and then we'll be able to continue. So Godot Engine is actually what I'm going to be using for this little top-down game. I'm really excited to try this out. And the biggest improvement over the workflow the Godot Engine had offered to me is pretty much the fact that I can do most of the things in the editor that I would have to code and compile in another engine. That's just the biggest benefit of it all. And to be honest, when I stopped on Godot Engine, I just stopped looking. It gave me no reason to have to look for another engine. Obviously, if I'm going to be going into hyper-realism or ultra-realism, if I'm going to be ever expanding into, having a studio, working with multiple artists, trying to synchronize the entire team, the workflow of the entire team together, I would probably want to maybe look into larger engines like Unity and Unreal. But to be honest, with the release of 4.0, the developers are already talking about the notion of streamlining that process, of making it easier for large studios to make large games. Not only that, they recently set up a commercial company. So Godot Engine is an open source project, so they had to set up an extra company specifically to help people publish games to consoles. So they would help you acquire the proper licensing to push games to consoles. That is absolutely mind-blowing. It's very difficult to do it as an open source engine because of licensing issues. You see, Godot Engine is open source, so anything that goes into it has to be open source. So they said, that's not going to stop us. We're going to still find a way to deliver console exports to our users. So, I mean, you get the regular stuff, Android, iOS, HTML5, which is what I'm going to be using to push the little games to our website. We got Mac, Windows. We got 2 platforms. I believe if you do UWP, you automatically get Xbox One export support, because I believe it uses the same package type. And of course, we got Linux. Besides this, anything else is an add-on. Like, there has been a release to Nintendo Switch fairly recently, so the process to achieve that has been published. This is one of my little projects I'm working on. Oh, so you see, we're still working here. Okay, we are actually getting, I believe we might just get a particular error that says that the path is too long. And I think, actually, well, maybe we'll be okay. There is a note in here that says if we ever get this type of error, we should look into our registry editor. So I'm going to quickly type in, oh, yep, registry editor. I'm going to copy this key right here, paste it in at the top, and then there's a registry entry here, long paths enabled. So you got to make sure that it's at a 1. It's already at 1 here, so that should be fine. And what that basically does is allow really long path names. So you could have like folder 2, folder 3. Inside of that, you go further, folder 5. Folder 6 has a really long name, so you go into that. Eventually, the length of that directory, kind of like this, ends up getting too long, and the system just refuses to process it any further. You hit the limitation. So this little registry allows you to have long file names, which also means that this will actually be allowed to be installed. So far so good. It hasn't complained about it. Would have crashed by now. So yeah, just waiting for that to be done. I'm gonna pop it on another screen. And right back to the brainwashing, huh? You're gonna be a devout Godot engine follower by the end of this video. Anyways, yeah, you to be honest, you use whatever you need to use, but I'm just sharing my life story, so to speak. At some point, I just stopped looking for alternative engines, and it's kind of a shame because Game Maker Studio was a great engine to work on, but it's oh man, it was. Here's the thing. If I didn't discover Godot Engine, I would have still been using Game Maker Studio for a lot of my projects, and I would have still been spending way too much time doing a lot of things that you can do using nodes through code. I mean, look at the look at the sort of nodes you have. Like, first of all, you have this panel here. In Game Maker Studio, you have to program all of these properties, which you can still do in Godot if you need to control these properties, but if you're trying to maybe set up a very simple object with just a couple of different sprites, do you really need to spend time programming the draw event and the draw call, programming the color? I mean, geez, you can just plug in a sprite in here, change its size, change the color however you want, done. Like, you can do this only within the level editor in Game Maker Studio. You can't do this on a per sprite basis. Like, I can just have another sprite in here, a secondary one. I can give it a different color modulate. As long as I, of course, make the parent node not impose its own color onto it. That's why you get 2 color modulates. One is for the personal use, including all the children. One's for all the other stuff. One only affects only itself, basically. Yeah, I can just set up a very complex object right here. Just duplicate some nodes, move them around. Look at the sort of stuff you have access to. I mean, you got navigation nodes, you got obstacles, you got resource, you got skeletons, resource preloaders allowing you to preload all the stuff so you don't have to do it using code. Geez, man, you got 2D and 3D development. Do you know how few engines are good at both? It is not. It just blows my mind. Like, I set out to search for an engine specifically so that I could get dive into 3D development. So I was still planning on using Game Maker Studio for 2D, and I was just looking for another engine that allowed me to do 3D. This engine makes that obsolete. It makes it void. I don't need 2 different tool sets for 2D and 3D development. Like, Godot Engine is one of those tools that actually competently does both really, really well. At least in my opinion. A lot of my games are very stylized. I'm not looking for hyper-realism that can only be achieved in, Frostbite or Unreal Engine or whatever, right? So, lots of really cool tools. We got occluders, we got paths, we got portals, specifically for preventing certain things from being rendered when you're not in, let's say, facing a particular direction. That's really useful for performance. We got H-Terrain, that's one. That's a plugin, actually. A plugin developed by one of the users, a very competent plugin for terrain, painting terrain generation in Godot, so that's really cool. Scatter plugin, and another one for very quickly painting objects. Objects. You literally paint smart objects that you program. So, lots and lots of cool stuff. I mean, the stuff that got me overboard to try Godot were pretty much this node right here. The light 2D node. That's basically it. I had a light. I don't think I have any light masks that I can show you. and we're still in the middle of loading up the last few libraries. But hell, man, you can get some lights in here if I get myself, say, a color rectangle, so we have a backdrop like this. And I believe actually recently they have added another type of an image that you can use as a special gradient. I think it was a radial gradient. Let's see. Gradient texture 2D. And then inside, new gradient. Cubic. I guess not. All right, well, in any case, that's enough of brainwashing. That's our little light over here. Because the plugin has finished with a success. Now, we need to follow the rest of the instructions. So we're going to close this. Close this up. This will close Blender, which is totally fine. We're going to go ahead and load it back up, but technically we don't have to run it in a privileged mode anymore, in administrator mode. We should be okay with this. Okay, so Dream textures. We're going to enable it one more time. Cool. Okay, so this is done. We don't need to click this anymore because it's only meant for revalidating or fixing previous installs that have been corrupted for whatever reason. So the next thing is we have to download a model. So this is the sauce, so to speak. This is the soul of the algorithm. This is the secret ingredient that makes AI actually do an adequate job instead of just making nonsense and noise. And these models, they have various level of quality. This particular one is 4 gigabytes, and it does a pretty competent job. And of course, I would assume that they have other models that are maybe some premium models or some sort of larger models that you actually have to remotely use. So they are telling us to go to Hugging Face. This is a website that handles... Oh, okay. I think it's going to load up my default browser, so I'm going to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Default browser it is. So they're telling us to download. Let's access the repository. It's going to ask me to log in. I'm going to quickly log in. Okay, perfect. Do not save my information. Cool. So here we have this file, right? This file is SDV 1.4. So we're going to download it. And again, 4 gigs. We're going to leave it running in the background and come back to it once it is done. So the cool thing about this particular library is that it's allowing you to change the resolution of the texture. So, of course, larger textures are going to take longer to bake. And I have tested this on an RTX 3070 downstairs, and it took about a minute to generate a 1024 by 1024 textures. Takes all of like 20 seconds to generate a 512 by 512 texture. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to need too large of textures. But once you have the base texture, you can generate the normal map from it. And from there, you can do some stuff with curves and generate height map. There's actually a very cool plugin that can do that for you. It's called, not a plugin actually, it's a standalone piece of software, but I've been using it religiously for a lot of the projects, especially in projects where I have to hand paint textures. It's called MindTex. So I believe if you buy MindTex 2, you actually get MindTex 1 bundled with it for free. So that's quite a bonus. And MindTex 1 is still perfectly usable, and it's very fast. It's a lot faster than MindTex 2, because MindTex 2 is, I would assume it's a lot beefier. So all you have to do here is you feed it the color map, and it generates the normal map for you. It also allows you to dial in some basic features for like a height map, well, height or bump map technically, and roughness and metallic map. So this tool, to be honest, if you're going to be generating AI-based textures, you probably want to have something like this. This technically, like I vouch for this app. This is a really, really well-made app. I absolutely use it for a lot of my 3D projects when I generate textures. So if you are looking for something for free, there is technically another one, and I think it's what was it called? It's a piece of software for generating maps. Let me look this up. Texture map generator. There's a bunch of online tools, but we don't want online tools. I think it's like something armor. Oh yes, materialize. Never mind. Okay, so materialize texture software. Okay, here we go. So made by a company called Bounding Box. I think they ended up making this tool from within Unity. So they essentially wrote a piece of software that allows you to generate these maps, export them, and apparently they have some good some good credentials here too. Materials was used on Uncharted Collection to generate metallic smoothness occlusion textures for Uncharted 1 and 2. So, I mean, I would say that's pretty gosh darn good of a credential right there. Open source, so you should be able to freely download it. So that's a great alternative to Mintex. But I honestly, once I got this, I didn't really have much of a reason to look for anything alternative. Cool. Okay. Do we have the model download? Almost. We're almost there. What else can I share? If you're looking for textures, there's a really cool company that I like to buy textures from. Again, if you have some months to spare, it's called CG Axis. If I can spell right. CG Axis. Okay, so these guys are really cool. I spotted their ads on Facebook, so they were putting a bunch of marketing. I guess Facebook knew I was doing like 3D and game development, so they're like, hey, this sucker is going to get some texture ads. So they have some free stuff. Well, if you're looking for free stuff, you can look for Ambient CG. Ambient CG is a really cool website where you can get a whole bunch of textures. Again, royalty-free stuff. You can just like click on it and download it. It's got multiple types of formats and resolutions. You also can get the Substance files. If you have Substance Painter or Substance Designer, you can mess around with the original file. But to be honest, I started building up my library of paid textures because I really liked what they were showing in the ads. So if you go into their, what do we got? PBR materials. Okay, so they have a whole bunch of really cool stuff. It's overpriced to heck if you don't know what to look for. You see, these guys are doing sales like there's no tomorrow. Like whatever prices you see here, this is not the real deal. And they've recently started doing, also membership stuff, but they still do sales of individual packs, at least for the time being. So for the time being, I can vouch for these guys. I'm not a fan of subscription services. So you can see that they have special, material packs. If you subscribe to their emailing newsletter, you're going to get sale emails almost on like a bi-weekly basis, I would say. And it's always going to be about like $50 for a pack of like 500 texture materials. And each material includes the base map, the normal map, the roughness, height, ambient occlusion in a lot of the cases. And yeah, it's usually like 2K, 4K, or 8K textures. So you're gonna have more than enough that you will ever need. Of course, now that we're kind of it's a little weird to be talking about these guys when I'm at the same time talking about a video that kind of makes this obsolete for small indie devs who don't have $50 to spend on textures. So yeah, they do have some really really good quality stuff. I was just absolutely impressed with the with some of the textures they have. So yeah, subscribe to their email. You're gonna get sales emails once in a while. Obviously, I would like these guys to not be on subscription. They do whatever they have to do to survive, but I would rather them not be on subscription. So if you like what they sell, buy their texture packs to show them that you're interested in texture packs rather than subscription services, to be honest. Yeah, so let's take a look. How far are we? We are done. The model has been downloaded. So I'm going to let's see. So they are saying download this file. We've already done that. Place this checkpoint file in the add-on folder with the name model.ckpt. Okay, so we're gonna click on this folder, which will open up this folder location. It's gonna open up right here. So this is in your, scripts. Technically, it's in your Blender Foundation, Blender scripts, yada yada yada. It's just gonna open up that path for us, and we can simply drag the copied, downloaded file, and we have to rename it into model.ckpt. Cool. Okay, we'll give it a second. We're almost there, folks. We're almost there. I have to do this thing anyways, so I guess this is going to be a part of my production video for the mini game. We'll see how this goes. Oh man, I'm super excited. Like I've had a couple of opportunities to test this earlier today, and it actually produced some really neat stuff. And the fact that it's running local off of my computer means you don't have to be dependent on some sort of an online service to be online a couple of years from now. You could just make a backup of this whole thing and work with that. Like that's the part that just blows my mind. It's you very rarely get this sort of good stuff that's just available to run offline. Usually it's some sort of a bullshit cloud service. So we're gonna do model.ckpt. Cool. All right, that's it. That's it. Ah, look at that. Immediately it detected it. After installing Blender, may need to restart it. Not a problem. We're gonna go ahead and restart Blender. All right, so now that we have everything running, we have everything installed, we can now finally start experimenting with some AI texture generation. God, I'm super excited. The results I've been getting are absolutely phenomenal, like ready to use quality textures. It's absolutely nuts. Now, there's a particular caveat you have to remember, and I discovered this just now when I was recording this. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get ourselves just a plane, just for testing, and I'm going to split this view in a couple of ways. So, I'm going to get myself a shader editor, and down here, I'm going to get UV editor. I don't need this. And over here, I'm actually going to put the UV editor here, and this is going to be an image editor. Okay, so we have this object. We're going to give it a material, and the stable diffusion, the Dream Textures plugin is going to be right here. You can just middle click and drag the top panel in order to reveal it at the end. We're going to click on Dream Textures. We're going to type in, let's say, mossy stone wall. Okay, we're going to make it seamless, and the size is going to be 512 by 512. I'm going to press OK. And we're going to give this plugin a second to warm up, because that is apparently what it has to do. It has to launch all the necessary dependencies before it is ready to build the textures. It might take a minute or two. I almost thought that the Blender crashed or it hung, froze, whatever it is, but it worked. I just had to give it a couple of minutes. There's no visual prompt. Like, you do not have any sort of feedback in knowing whether or not it's actually working. Trust me, it's working, but it might depend on your computer power. Because I tested this on the RTX 3070 earlier today. It was pretty fast. This is an RTX 2060. I specifically got the card for VR game development, and it's a little bit slower, and I have to, well, in order to make this demonstration bearable, I have to work with a smaller texture size, 512 by 512. And there's a particular quirk about texture size. When I was putting queries at, say, 256 by 256, because my particular game has lower resolution textures, it was actually not producing anything legible. It was almost like it was confused about what it is that I was trying to create. But when I bumped up the resolution to 512 by 512, the magic just happened right away. It was absolutely beautiful. So, you can see that my mouse cursor is actually not reacting to any of the... there, oh, now it's reacting. So that means the plugin has finished loading up. Okay. All right, we are ready. We are ready to witness the magic. There's nothing in here yet. We'll give it a second. Give it one more. Hey, there you go. Perfect. See, it takes a little while, but it'll get there. Okay, so we had, what is it, mossy stone wall. We set it to 25 pixels, or 25 steps, so you can see that every step it takes, it is refining that initial noise. And this is called stable diffusion. Look at this. Look at this. This is freaking awesome. This is running on your computer. No subscriptions, no services, on your computer. This just blows my mind. It just opened up opportunities left and right, especially for an indie developer. This is huge. Absolutely huge. Let's take a look what this looks like here. So I'm going to tell it to take this material, take this texture, set it as a base texture. Let's just look at it in the material view. Look at this. And the best part of it all, it's seamless. We have a checkbox to make it seamless. This is so cool. Okay, so let's try something else. Let's try cracked old pavement. Okay, so now that the plugin is up and running, this is just fast. We just needed to give it a minute to boot everything up. Let's see. 25 steps. You can increase how many steps the AI takes to generate this data. Of course, if you have more powerful hardware, you're going to get a better idea. Look at this. This is so cool. I swear to God, this is so freaking awesome. Okay, so we're going to do what? Let's try one last one. So grassy stone, I guess, road? Grassy stone road. Okay, so it gave me pines. So it's not perfect. I have to give it a clearer queue or query. Let's see. Stone road with grass patches. Let's see if it does it better this time. Interesting. We have an isometric pattern. Oh my God! Wow, that is fascinating. Let me take a look at this. Okay, so we could simply press OK again and let it generate another image with the same query. It's not gonna result in the same exact image. And there's also a seed property that you can randomize, although I'm not entirely sure how the seed property works if you could just rerun the algorithm. Look at this. Okay, this kind of looks like it's from the side view. So let's try this. Top view. This could be used in like an isometric game. All right, what do we got? Huh. Okay, so this looks more like a meadow texture. Let's see what this looks like when we place it down. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Not bad. You can definitely find uses for this, right? Okay, one last one. Let's see. Brick wall. Pretty cut and dry, pretty vanilla query. All right. Whoa. Whoa. That is interesting. It's like overlapping. It's almost like the sort of stone you'd see at a quarry, a mining quarry. Interesting. Wait. This makes me think. Metal panels. I'm predicting some sort of a shingle type mess. Huh. Whoa. Interesting. This looks more like hardwood floor than metal. But then again, if you put a metallic or a specular map over it, I'm sure it'll look like metal, right? Cool. Okay. If I run this again, let's see what happens. Whoa. That looks like scales. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Anyways. What if I do something contextual? Knobs and dials. I could totally see Dusk Dev, the creator of Iron Lung, making an entire game that's just running on these sort of generated textures, just because of the weird, dreamy presentation of them all. That looks nothing like the dials and knobs. But hey, I'm sure you can actually find an application to this sort of a texture. Anyways, this is what I wanted to show you. This is honestly the really cool part. So, I hope you enjoyed. You can always just take image, save as, and then you can save the image as a PNG or JPEG to whatever you want, and then you can use, let's say, the Mintext program, for example, to generate the normal maps and roughness and metallics for it. And yeah, totally free. Go download it. Go experiment with it. It's freaking awesome. I hope you guys find really good use of it. I'm really happy that I discovered this. Thank you to the developers. Fantastic job.